Okay. I am so excited to be here. Super happy to be joining you live once again. It's the third one we've been doing back to back every week. And thank you for those who are showing up here. I'm going to get a chance to connect with you in just a little bit, interact with you, figure out where you are and where you're coming from. But for now, I just want to say that this is a topic that's dear to my heart. How to let go of the pain of past relationships, because I mean, if you saw the thumbnail, some of you saw the thumbnail, some of you are just watching this live and just joining, but the thumbnail for this video said something along the lines of, you will stay single until you understand this, until you change this. And it's not clickbait, it's the truth. My experience in connecting with human beings who sometimes get the love that they want and sometimes human beings who don't get the love that they want has been that a lot of it has to do with what we are carrying from relationships from our past. But it's not just the relationship itself, it's sometimes the pain associated to that relationship, the inability to move forward, the feeling of shame or the feeling of sadness, the feeling of guilt, the feeling of failure, the feeling of this shouldn't have happened the way it happened. And because it's such a painful sometimes experience to move along life with that type of looking back, feeling the pain of what's taken place, it's really important for you to understand and learn how to start letting go of the pain of what you experienced in the past and redefine and reframe what took place, because failure to do that means that you'll get stuck in a challenging situation that is not ideal, not just not ideal, but keeps you stuck in a pattern of pain and a feeling of frustration and a feeling of sadness. So before I even start saying hello to everyone, I mean, if you're here, the first thing I'd love for you to do is click on the little thumbs up or like button so I can see those here. And then I want to read, I want to talk to you today about where you are right now. I want you to acknowledge, take a deep breath. I know that you might be busy. Some of you are joining for the whole thing. Awesome if you are. Some of you are joining on the replay. If you're joining on the replay, hope you can get to join us live sometime soon. But for those of you who have at least 5 minutes right now of consciousness and presence, I'd love for you to ask yourself the question, where are you right now emotionally? As you think about this topic, as you think about moving forward, as you think about entering a conscious relationship, as you think about what is it that you want from not just, I'm assuming if you're here watching me talk about, and there's so many things you could be listening to, from a salacious televised court hearing from two famous people to Oprah Winfrey. You could be watching so many different things, but you're watching this. So I would love for you to acknowledge in your heart, where are you emotionally? What are you feeling? Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling uplifted? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling maybe losing hope about this whole relationship thing? Are you feeling guilty? What are you feeling? Just take that in for a second and acknowledge that wherever you are right now, it's okay to be there. Because here's the truth about life. The truth about life is a freaking pendulum. And life is a pendulum means that if you're feeling incredibly good, it's not going to last. And if you're feeling incredibly bad, it's not going to last either. So what I want right now is to give you a framework of understanding throughout this video. And there's many videos on the topic, but I want to give you my own take on this. That allows you to move past the pain and understand that there's a secondary gain that you're getting from this. And as soon as you understand what that is, and as soon as you understand that there's ways of moving forward, that you stop hurting yourself unnecessarily, and that you start focusing on something that gives you the ability to not just enter a new relationship, which ultimately is a high goal that we may all have in the back of our minds, but enter a new relationship, but enjoy the process of getting to that relationship. Enjoy the process of connecting with yourself, bringing yourself back from wherever you've lost yourself in, and express yourself in a way that makes you not just super attractive as a woman, but also incredibly proud of yourself and who you are. So much of the pain of where you are right now, if you're thinking about past relationships, if you're thinking about something that took place that ended abruptly, maybe, or maybe you're thinking about a relationship that you felt betrayed in the relationship, you felt disrespected, you felt maybe even toxically abused. Maybe you feel that you're the one who did something wrong in the relationship and it ended. And it's pain in the relationship, not because somebody did something to you, but because you did something to someone in a way that you wish you could change if you could go back in time, which is impossible, but you wish you could change. So much of the pain that you are experiencing in your life today, for example, if you're saying to yourself, I wish I wouldn't have let him do this to me, or I wish I would have seen the warning signs that he was cheating way before I realized that it was happening, or I wish I would have been kinder to him, I wish I would have been more respectful, I wish I would have been more understanding, more compassionate, less judgmental. You are playing a losing game. And the game that you're playing, the losing game that you're playing, is called the lottery ticket numbers that you didn't guess. And here's what I mean by that. What I mean by that is sometimes in life, you get a chance to think about, I mean, imagine that today you woke this morning and you go to, I don't know, the website of the lotto numbers, and you saw that the winning numbers today are, let's say, there's it's a set of six numbers, right? So let's say you get those numbers and you feel super sad, super upset, and pissed at yourself that you didn't get those numbers yesterday when you went to put gas in your car and could have bought a winning ticket for those numbers. They seem so easy right now. Like, look at them right now. They're right now printed in the newspaper and on the website, and there's nothing to them, seemingly. But guessing them yesterday was nearly impossible. It's one in I don't know how many millions of chances to get that. So it's absurd, right? It doesn't make sense that you would get really pissed at yourself because you didn't guess the winning numbers of the lotto, even though you can see them so easily this morning. And that's what you're doing right now. You're focusing on things you didn't see back then, but sometimes it took that pain. It took that breakup. It took that disillusionment. It took that disrespect. It took that level of toxicity for you to wake up to a reality that now, today, allows you to metaphorically see the winning numbers. But if you were to have seen that yesterday, it would have been, I mean, it was nearly impossible for you to guess those things. So what I'm getting at right now is, if you're coming from a place, if part of the pain in your relationships is coming from a place of now you're blaming yourself for something you didn't do or say the right way, or now you're you're thinking that you're not qualified enough or intelligent enough or skillful enough or worthy enough because something that seems so simple now was not changed then, that you give yourself the grace of understanding that it's just as absurd as what I'm sharing with you right now about the lottery tickets. And hopefully this imagery of you, something you would never do to yourself, which is beat yourself up for something that seems so weird, that you stop doing that for a little bit. That just for right now, just for today, say, what if I couldn't have seen it back then? What if I couldn't have experienced enough pain back then to get myself to leave, or get myself to change, or get myself to be kinder? And the thing with life right now is that you get another chance. If you're alive today, you woke up today, you get another chance of doing things differently. And if you get a chance to do things differently, that means that you can do better now. Now, if you learn that lesson, let's do better. That's what this whole thing is about. And if you start thinking, instead of, I wish I could have changed that, to, I'm going to change this going forward, then you're in a place of momentum that can allow you to get what you want. So with that said, I'm going to allow those of you who are here right now, I see there's some people showing up live, to see who's showing up. So if you can share with me right now a couple of things, if you can share your name. I know some people have a different screen name than their name. So I mean, if you can share what your name is and also where you're joining us from today, that would be awesome. I see Octolady right now says, hey, Bern from Romania. Nice to see you again. Nice to see you too. Alejandra Gonzalez, good morning from El Paso, Texas. Good morning, Alejandra. Fiery but mostly friendly, exhausted. Okay, Jean is saying, hi, Bern, feeling hopeful about myself, which is all I'm focusing on now. That's awesome. And Christina is saying that she doesn't know what she wants yet. Sad that, okay, so it's sad that you don't, he doesn't know what he wants yet. You're talking about a guy. Okay, I get it. Lenny is saying, you know someone who's precious, but he's an idol. Okay, so you're falling in love potentially, or in illusionment with someone that may not know you. Annie is joining us from Buffalo. The young friend you share your videos with just left Chiapas. She loves living there. Okay, and you're losing hope. Okay, cool. So thank you for sharing. Anyone else who's here who's not sharing, just make sure to just at some point let me know who you are and where you're joining from, please. That'd be awesome because then I get a chance to at the end open up for questions and answers. And if you participated, I mean, you get a better chance of actually getting your question answered. So I'm just throwing it in there right now. Darcy from Orange County, California. Great to see you, Darcy. Okay, so let's get going right now. The first thing is a piece of inspiration. Christina from UK and Sheil Whimsical. Great. Where are you coming from? Inspiration today says, this is the quote that I'm reading from one of my favorite writers ever, Walt Whitman. And it says, happiness not in another place but this place. Not for another hour but this hour. So think about that. Think about what happiness means to you. And happiness isn't just joy and fun and giggles and having fun with your friends. And happiness is meaning. Happiness is having a life that, even though it goes through ups and downs, as I talked about the pendulum, right? If you're really happy, it won't last. If you're really sad, it won't last, because life is a pendulum. But overall, the feeling of growth, the feeling of contribution, the feeling of momentum, the feeling of evolution is a thing that creates some sort of meaning, in addition to contributing to other people, in addition to assuming responsibility for things that make life better, not just for yourself, but for somebody else. That's what creates sustainable happiness and meaning. So as you navigate this, going from through the pain of a relationship that ended or didn't work out the way you expected to, understand this is just part of the process of life and part of the process of evolution. And if you get that, then you'll be in a much better shape to understand what I'm about to share with you today. Before I get fully started, I would love to share with you that if you haven't done this already, and I know that some of you haven't, I would love for you to, at some point, open a new browser window and go to this website here, mydatingcure.com. When you go to that website, you'll be able to go further than I can on this video. It's a training that I laid out for you where you can understand how you can step into a conscious dating practice and also not just intellectually move forward, but move forward with your heart and in a way that's sustainable in getting the results that you want with men. So there you have it. Now, there's a few more people. I'm going to say hi, and then I'll just dive into the content here. Eddie from Connecticut, I appreciate you too for showing up. Sheil Whimsical from the DMV area. Leslie, you're from San Antonio, Texas. Dira McClintock. So widow, we have a different path, but we still have to get over the pain. Luckily, I've learned from you and others I need to be before I'm ready to love again. Yeah, I mean, and my heart goes out to you for what you're going through, and I'm excited to see that you're showing up in something that allows you to the possibility of moving forward and love again. Rim from Florida, Kim from Ohio, and let me go back here. Okay, Leonard Bailey. Okay, let's go back and ask you a question to get this. A question that you might want to punch me after I ask it, but it's worth considering. And my question to you is, are you at times your own abusive or toxic boyfriend? I know you might say, well, you're crazy. How can I be my own abusive and toxic boyfriend? I'll ask this again. Are you at times your own abusive and toxic boyfriend? I'm going to give you an analogy and see if this makes sense to you. Imagine that you hate horror movies. Maybe you love them, but imagine for this example that you hate horror movies. And imagine that you go to watch this, you pay for a VIP experience of the cinema that's going to give you that horror movie in 3D. It's not just a horror movie, it's a horror movie IMAX type with 3D, maybe 4D. You get sounds, you get smells, you get the whole experience. I mean, so you hate horror movies, but yet you buy this ticket. It's $100 to buy this ticket. You go inside and you watch this. And then the music that is played in this movie is horrific, as you can imagine, right? It's sounds and it's just like this, just horrible sounds and horrible songs. And yet you go pay for this experience and then you leave the theater and you download or buy the LP, because LPs are now back in the game. So you buy this $50 LP of this horrific movie. It doesn't make sense, right? So, and then you leave and you watch this thing on repeat. You start watching this horror movie and you start listening to this thing in your house, the downloaded version, which came free with the LP. you start listening to it in your car as you're driving. You instead of a podcast, you listen to this type of crap. Would you ever do that? And if the answer is no, I'm saying I contest that, because sometimes the experience that you had in a relationship, the pain that you experience in a relationship, is something that is horrific, but you get to play it again and again and again and again and again in your mind. So when I ask you the question, are you at times your own abusive boyfriend? What I really mean by that is, are you doing things to yourself subconsciously that are hurting you with a false notion that you'll come out ahead? Are you talking to yourself in ways that you wouldn't allow other human beings today to talk to you? Are you being disrespectful to you in the way that you treat yourself based on something that you did or didn't do? Are you sometimes are you sometimes guilty of playing this sad or horrific movie again and again in your mind? And my question to you would be, why do we do this? Why do we do this? Why do we talk to ourselves in ways that we wouldn't allow other people to talk to us? Why do we watch some horrific movie in our heads, which is the demise of our relationship, the times we were angry, or something super sad, like the time he really loved you, even though he won't love you again, and you just play that as if that's the last time you'll ever experience something in your life? The reason why we do that is because we feel that at some level, if we suffer enough, if we experience the pain enough, we'll be ahead. If we go through the learning in such a deep level of emotional pain that maybe we'll really learn our lesson, or maybe we'll be ahead, or maybe we'll recognize it better in the future. But what I'm here to share right now is that if you find yourself guilty of being your own abusive boyfriend at times, is that you tell yourself the truth, which is no amount of suffering today will allow you to be better in the future. I think if you've gone through this already, if you've already experienced the pain enough, if you've suffered through listening to sad story again and again and again, then a better way of moving forward is focusing on what it is that you want to create. It's harder. It's much harder to focus on what do I want to create in the future versus what's taken place in the past. Why? Because it means you have to do something different. You can't be comfortable in your house playing Total Eclipse of the Heart with a blanket and with a glass of wine and just feeling sad about yourself. You have to do something that's more risky. You have to put yourself out there. You have to dust off and lift yourself up again. You have to start watching inspirational content. You have to risk getting rejected. You have to connect with people again. You have to risk also getting heartbroken if you make the wrong decision. So sometimes the comfort of the pain, and I know it sounds bizarre to say this, but comfort of the pain, because it's a pain that you know, is less challenging than the what if this were to happen. So that's why it's so important in that step between having a painful breakup or having a painful relationship and entering a new relationship to figure out A, what happened, and B, how you can love yourself today in action in a way that allows you to move forward without feeling like there's something wrong with you. One of the things that I find most compelling today is the sense of entitlement that human beings have today about relationships. Meaning, we expect more of relationships today than we have ever expected in human history. And we don't have a much higher level of skill today than we did in the past. So that's the recipe for disaster. When you have experienced, when you have high expectation of something, it's like if you wanted to be a doctor, right? That's the equivalent of the relationship we want. We want something that's spiritually based, but also emotionally connected. A guy who is your best friend, your lover, your supporter, your cheerleader, someone who gives you both an equal amount of surprise and adventure and safety and security, which are oxymorons in and of themselves, two opposite extremes, right? So we want all of that. And we haven't learned the skills to get this, which is why I'm so excited that you're showing up here. Not just in my content. There's many human beings who share ideas and visions of how this can be done better, but learning how to do it better matters. Why? Because you save time in going through loopholes that are not the right thing for you, that feel maybe natural to you in a moment, that maybe feel like the right thing to step into, but maybe you even feel intuition's telling me this is the right guy. And it's not intuition, is your karmic past or it's your trauma bonding that's connecting you to someone. So learning how to identify what are the things you need to be looking forward matters, because then you can let go of the pain of the past. Because if you let go of the pain of the past, you won't jump into something painful again. Sometimes the pain of the past is the thing that's holding you from entering any relationship that might be just as painful as the previous one. So understand that if you A, learn more skills today that allow you to make better decisions for yourself in the future, and B, recognize that part of the pain of the past is maybe beating yourself up as your own abusive boyfriend, then you might start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, because all it takes is 1 degree of light in a dark cave for it to not be total darkness. And some of you are thinking that you have to make a 180-degree shift in the way you were doing things to enter what you want. And I'm here to say that sometimes it's a 2-degree shift. Sometimes it's making better decisions about how long you're going to wait before you have sex with a guy. Sometimes it's saying no to people that are disrespectful from the start, but your thought is, well, they'll get better in the future, and they won't. Sometimes it's being kinder with the way you look at yourself so that you're not being unfair with your own greatness or beauty. Sometimes it's breathing 3 times before you say something to someone and you punch them unnecessarily, or you react not based on him but what the 5 previous guys have done to you, or you've allowed them to do to you. So that's why I'm saying right now, sometimes 1 degree of difference is the thing that can help you to experience the deepest level of transformation. It's not necessarily 50 things that you have to change. There's typically 1 or 2 things that are big, and if you change those things, you can be in a much better position to get what you want. So with that said, I want to talk about 6 specific steps, understanding what I'm sharing with you right now, that will help you move forward from the past of previous relationships, or the demise or the breakup or the abrupt interruption of something, and help you get into a healthier space and make you more able to step into the right type of relationship. There's a few more people who've joined. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited that you're here. And we'll be happy to take a few questions in a little bit. So the first one is this, okay? Step number 1 is we need to be able to redefine what failure in a relationship is. So here's the thing that blows my mind. Imagine that there's a couple that lasts 10 years married, and it ends in some challenging form, as most relationships do. Most relationships don't end in the most beautiful, amicable way, but let's say it ends, it's not disastrous, it's not the most painful thing, but it doesn't end well after 10 years. Most human beings judge that as a failed relationship, but maybe out of that failed relationship, 1 child came about. Maybe out of that failed relationship, 2 human beings became better in so many different ways. Maybe those human beings learned to love and understand and compromise and grow and get healthier and become more financially secure. So the way we harshly judge the failure of our relationship this day and age is mind-blowing. Granted, the goal for that relationship perhaps was for it to last forever, and it didn't. But there were 10 years of greatness in that experience. And if you only look at this situation as a black and white thing, then you'll suffer unnecessarily, because you, A, will be unfair with all the learnings and evolution and growth that took place, and B, you'll have a really unfair and really high measurement that defines success in a relationship. So here's what relationship success isn't, okay? It's not the longevity of a relationship. Why? Because sometimes relationships last many, many years in a very painful way. So if you look at someone whose relationship ended, let's say at 10 years, and somebody else has been married for 30, let's say, and that's more successful, well, maybe those people hate each other's guts and tolerate each other instead of love each other. But here we are in this very unfair measurement of the longevity of a relationship as the greatness of it, right? This is what it's not, the level of passion of the relationship. Why? Because there's very passionate relationships that are incredibly corrosive and toxic. So if you judge based on the Instagram version of what you see to people, they're in Hawaii and they love each other and they're making love on the beach, and that's the measurement of success, but you don't understand and don't get to see the argument they have behind the closed doors that makes people in the hotel call security on them, but you're just seeing them making love on the beach. Then again, the passion of the relationship is not the measurement of the success of it. And how well people know each other also isn't the measurement of success. Because sometimes there's a friendship that takes place that allows people to witness and see each other. And again, that's not the whole thing. I mean, I think that a better way for you right now, if you want to move forward from pain that you've experienced and you find that you haven't been able to do it, is that you define failure of the relationship and success of the relationship in a different way. That you define success based on the spiritual evolution that takes place once you understand what happened. Why? Because if you went through a relationship that was painful and you learn how not never do that again, and you are better with yourself, you're kinder with yourself, you're more you respect yourself more, you set stronger boundaries, you put yourself out there in a way that repels those types of men in the future, then was it really a failure? It taught you a lesson that perhaps something else couldn't have taught you. I share the experience sometimes about how, for me, it took my dad dying in my arms, literally dying in my arms, after a almost 4 year battle of cancer, to learn and wake up. Like, I got a punch in the testicles and the heart at the same time that said, you can't stop, you can't continue living life without doing something that you feel really passionate about every single day of your life. You can't. This is it. Your grandfather is dead, your father is dead, and you are next, mofo. So if you don't do this right now, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. I wish I could have read a book that was beautiful and ornate about living your purpose, but that didn't do it for me. The Deepak Chopra message of here's what needs to happen for you to live your passion, that didn't do it for me. What did it for me was something incredibly painful that was simultaneously one of the most beautiful and one of the most painful things that I ever experienced. Now, I'm not saying that some of the past relationships you've had would be beautiful in the same way. What I'm saying is that you can learn something from them. And if you learn something from them and there's a spiritual level of evolution, then I want you to stop being so harsh on yourself and calling it a failure, because the failure would be not to learn something. Failure would be that you continue repeating that for the rest of your life without understanding how to do it better. And if you're understanding how to do it better and you can be kind with yourself and compassionate the way you would be to your own child, then you're going somewhere and you're progressing. Number two, this leads me to my second point of this whole thing, is that you need to take a step back and understand that life is alchemy. So what does life is alchemy mean? Life is alchemy means that everything you see around you, everything that matters around you, everything that, if you go to the museum, any museum that's worth being there and spending time in, if you see any play or marvelous work of art, it typically came from high inspiration or high levels of pain. And I would dare say that most poetry, most art that's of the sublime kind came from pain at some level. So when I say that life is alchemy, is that you need to be able to not just understand that, but get with the program. Get with the program means that you need to be able to develop the skill of turning shit into gold. The deepest sadness, pain in your life can become your bestseller. And I'm not saying your bestseller physically, as in you write a book about the tragedy of your life, but your bestseller in terms of what lessons you learned that allowed you to become a human being that is capable of having a deeper degree of compassion, a deeper degree of self-awareness, a higher level of being in tune with the needs of your heart, the ability to express and shout to the four winds, this is what I'm standing for, this is what I'm here to do, in ways that, as I shared earlier, couldn't have come any other way. So if it's really hard to consistently focus on the pain on the past and feel a sense of sadness and despair and anger, and also overwhelming sense of gratitude for the lessons that it gave you, one will win. Either the pain of what happened will win, or the gratitude of what you're learning now and can do about it will win. So let me be super clear. I'm not advocating for someone to be mean to somebody else so that they learn a valuable lesson. But since that happened already to you perhaps, since you either were not kind to somebody and things ended, or they weren't kind to you or respectful to you in a way that made you not want to be in the relationship again, or maybe felt betrayed, then you might as well use that and say, what can I learn from this that makes my life better? Not despite the shit that happened, but because of it. That's the key in alchemy. It's not the life that you can get despite what happens. It's what life you can experience now because of what happened. And that's an invitation that I give you right now. If you're watching me either live or on the replay or wherever you are in the world, if you're experiencing a lot of pain from something, I invite you to really go deeper and ask yourself, what is the spiritual lesson in this? How can I use this? How can my life be better as a result of what took place? And if you find the answers to that and you connect them with your heart, I can assure you that the level of pain will start dissipating, because it's really hard to feel very grateful and also very pissed off about something that happened. Step number 3 is you can't should have anything. That's the abusive boyfriend. That's you with yourself. That's you saying, I should have seen this, I should have experienced this, I should have done this differently. That doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's a torturous thing to do to yourself. It's equivalent to buying that horror film that you hate and playing it on repeat. Why? Because there's no answer to that, and because it can't happen. It's an impossibility, right? It's like the law of gravity says that if you drop something, it's going to fall. That's just the way it works, at least on this earth, at least in this universe. So because that is this way, something better than should have is, here's who I am today, and here's what I will do. Here's how I choose to do things in the future. Here's how I choose to conduct myself. Here's how I choose to connect with men. Here's how I choose to ask questions. Here's how I choose to sense what's taking place and not wait more than I need to next time to bring it up. Here's how I can bring it up in a way that doesn't punch someone unnecessarily or unfairly. So all those micro lessons that you learn in the experience of this should have been different, that's like, so at some level, I wouldn't even say cowardly to say I should have done this differently. No. How can you do it better in the future? That's something that takes way more courage than I should have done it differently. I should have done it differently. It's a torturous thing. I will do better. That's a commitment. That's the future vision, and that's the responsibility. That's a responsible thing to do. How can I do this better in the future so that I don't have to go through this pain again and again in a way that makes me suffer unnecessarily? So that's step number 3. Step number 4, I talked about it briefly, but it's focusing on the spiritual gift that you received as a result of the experience. And sometimes some of the most painful things have more than one. So I urge you, if you already found the spiritual gift in something, that you continue finding spiritual gifts. If you're still connected to the pain, there might be more spiritual gifts for you to find and do something about. This is the concept of alchemy that I described earlier on. Step number 5 is becoming responsible to find solutions. Become responsible to find a new solution, a new idea, a new way of doing things, a new way of seeing life. Find the courage to tell yourself the truth, which is the level of relationship you want and you seek isn't the easiest thing in the world. It's actually pretty hard. And if you're watching me, you wouldn't be watching me if you thought this was easy, because you would have already gotten it. So the fact that that you want something deep and profound, and you don't want to settle for just the first thing that comes to your experience, but also don't want to just postpone this experience, is that you understand that there's solutions that need to take place. And for some of you, the solution is therapy. For some of you, the solution is coaching. For some of you, the solution is maybe an activity that allows you to experience more passion and fulfillment in life, so that you don't get seduced by a shiny object that's subpar, but compared to a boring life would be exciting. Maybe for some of you is allowing yourself to dress in a way that reminds you of your greatness instead of hiding in baggy clothes. For some of you, it might be making eye contact with men in the future, and going to more places and getting outside of your circle, and instead of going with your girlfriend someplace, just venture yourself to do something where nobody knows you and you really have a chance to connect with people and start afresh and start new. Number 6, last step in this process, is create a ritual of forgiveness. And forgiveness not just of the person who hurt you, if that's what took place, but forgiveness of you. Forgiveness of the version of you that didn't know what you now know. Forgiveness of the version of you that should have known better, but now you understand that's a torturous and toxic thing to do to yourself. Forgiveness of maybe the breakup of an illusion that you thought should be happening right now, but isn't happening right now. As you take on a ritual, and that ritual could be taking yourself out somewhere and journaling, and maybe closing your eyes and meditating. For some of you, it might be running on the beach. For some of you, it might be having a conversation with a friend and letting them know what your new commitment to life is. For some of you, is a new set of rituals that you commit to that are healthy and joyous for yourself. For some of you might be putting yourself out there on a dating site, even though you think and your friends tell you that it doesn't work and tell you it works. If you do it right, it works. If you do it wrong, it doesn't work. So there's ways to do things that get you what you want. But what's required is for you to really let go. And sometimes a ritual that is yours, I can't tell you what that is because each person's individual. It's individually different, but something that is a before and after for you. Something that you can come back and say, well, I know that I typically think about it this way, but I just went through this ritual of forgiveness. And instead of blaming myself, hitting myself, metaphorically speaking, I'm going to be kinder. And instead of saying, hey, this is what I should have happened, I'm going to say to myself, here's what I'm doing now. Here's my new commitment. Here's my new vision for what's possible. Here's my new quest. And if you focus on that quest, and if you focus on the progress of that quest, and if you don't do this binary stupid game we all do, which is like you're with someone or alone. No, there's an in-between that's pretty important. And where you are on that spectrum matters. It's not just a 1 and 0. It's where are you on the path of connecting to the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. Even if you haven't met him yet. But if you're doing the right things, then you're in progression. If you're not doing the right things, then you're going down. That's the gist of what I wanted to share with you. Before I go into Q&A, I want to share two things. First thing is that if you haven't done this, please go to this website, mydatingcure.com, and there might even be a link here, if I did it properly, that you can click on and go to the free training, and that will help you to go beyond the scope of this video and show you how to create a conscious dating strategy. For some of you, if you're saying, hey, Bern, this sounds great, and it's awesome, but I am going to need some hand-holding and help, and watching videos and watching lives is a good step and a good start, but I need accountability and hand-holding. Then if you go to this website, callwithbern.com, this will allow you to apply to work with me, and we'll have a conversation. If I feel I can help you, we'll have a conversation, and I can let you know if I think after speaking with you that what I have to offer is a great fit for you. Then I'll let you know how that works, and I might be able to help you get what you want in a fraction of the time. So again, those two websites again are mydatingcure.com, and if you want to work with me or see if that's a possibility, then callwithbern.com is where you should go. I'm going to open it up right now to questions. I'm going to take a couple of questions here. So here, Rosa. Hey, Rosa, how are you? So good to see you here. Okay, so here I am. I'm opening it up to questions. I know there's a slight delay right now, but if you have a question specific to this topic, specific to the topic of letting go of pain in relationships, I'd love to hear what that is. I'm going to go back up and see if I missed anything as you write something down here. Let me see what else I have here. Okay, Jacqueline, you're saying 17, never married, and surrounded by married folks, most 30 plus, no divorces. Somebody else who's sharing. I sent a question, but it never went through. Send it again. Somebody saying, Cami, 2121, such good information. I love that you said a small change or correction can be the difference for a better future. Yeah, typically there's 5% of actions that make 95% of the difference for everyone. So that's important to remember. And then, okay, so Jay Nishta is saying, like you suggested in the previous webinar, I started saying yes more, and that landed 5 dates. I like it. Next question, how can I increase my sense of self-worth to attract better dates? Okay, well, here's the thing. Self-worth is something that happens from the recognition that there's uniqueness. And let me actually do something. See if I can do this here. There's a way where I can actually. Okay, here's what I'm answering right now. So I'm posting it on the page here. So it got lost. So let me put it again. Okay, so having increasing your self-worth. So here's the way I look at self-worth. Self-worth is not something that you gain, as in you lost the self-worth and now you can see it. Self-worth to me is more of letting go of shit that doesn't serve you. Letting go of ideas about yourself that make it unlikely for you to see your greatness. It's letting go of a few things. Letting go of comparison, because comparison is something that makes you always lose. Because no matter who you compare yourself with, there's something they're better at than you. So if you're comparing yourself to somebody else, and that's part of the demise of your worth, then I'm going to say to you, stop comparing right now and focus on your own path, your own vision, your own force of what you want. Number two is that as you attempt basically new things, that you tell yourself the truth, which is for you to get what you want, you'll have to fail more. So if part of your lack of self-worth comes from, I'm not great at this, guess what? For you to be great at something, you have to attempt more things, fail at more things, and then succeed. So that's the next challenge I'll give you. Third one is, what are the, I mean, I'm curious, what are the things you tell yourself? What are the things that you share with yourself that make you feel unworthy? I'll leave it at that for right now because I want to make sure that I'm giving you something specific versus just imagining things here. And as I see your response here, I'll go further on this one. So let me see what else I have here. What to say or wish him. Let me put this here. What to say or wish him when he leaves so he remembers you as a high value woman. There's nothing you need to say or wish him when he leaves. It's what you do when you're with him. it's like uh, it's like somebody saying, what's the thing you say at the end of a sales call to or a sales conversation with someone to sell something? It's not what you say there. It's how did the process go that makes the sale take place. So what I would say to you is, if your focus right now is, don't focus on him remembering you as a high value woman. Do the things that high value women do, which are show up in a way that so here's a few things. There's multiple things that can get you there, but I'll share a few. Love your life. Focus on loving your life versus people approving of you. Focus on showing up with a sense of radiance and expressiveness in a way that lets people know who you are. And some people will love that, some people will hate that. But that's okay. It's better for you to have some people who love you and some people who hate you than people who think you're vanilla and no one cares, right? So be willing to take that risk of being more of you, the uniqueness that is you, express it in a way that's yours. The third thing I'll say, so that he remembers you're a high value woman, is allow yourself, if you enjoy the connection, to express it every time it happens, to express it as you're feeling him, to ask yourself the question, what is he feeling when you're connecting with him? Feel him in your heart. Don't just be in your head. Allow what he's saying and expressing to you to resonate here. And then if you really allow it to feel it, then the natural expression of what comes out is the thing that he will see as a high value woman throughout the entire process. Don't chase guys. Guys who are chased don't see the women who chase them as high value. That would be another thing I can say to you. But yeah, don't worry about the last thing you say. Worry about who you are, how you show up. And if he wants to see you as a high value woman, great. If he doesn't, then that's his loss at that stage, Next one is, I broke up with my ex 3 years ago. Let me actually post it here. See if I can do this. Diana is saying, I broke up with my ex 3 years ago and have realized I messed up and he probably was the love of my life. I have a boyfriend but can't stop thinking about my ex. How to deal with this? Well, it's a challenging situation, my dear, to say the least. So a couple of things is, the first thing is, you're with someone today, is if you're with someone right now and the relationship is going well, I would say focus on what it is that you can do right now based on the lessons that you learned so that you can make this relationship better. If it's something that you feel you can't, that you can't stop thinking of your ex, and there's so many unknowns here. Is your ex single? Would still be open to connecting with you at some point? You'd have to probably end this relationship and risk this for the hope of something that may never happen, But at some point, I would say make your relationship better right now. That's the first focus. If there's things that are not working in this relationship, don't go forward. But I would take those two things as separate, because if you end this relationship with the hopes of that thing being better and it ends up not working, you're going to hurt two people. Now is the guy who was in your mind, the love of your life, and another guy that could have been the love of your life also, but now you also let go unnecessarily. But at some point, if you feel like it's something you can't live with, then end this thing with him, the guy that you're with right now, knowing that it may never happen again, and be willing to do it, even if the other guy, let's imagine this scenario. You end things with a guy right now. You attempt to reconnect and say, I'm so sorry, here's all the ways in which I messed up. And he says, I'm sorry, I don't want you anymore. If you're willing to have that be the experience, you lost two great men, then go forward. If you think that you wouldn't live with yourself because you hurt now two guys, then I would say get the lessons from what you learned there and then apply them to your new relationship and be happy with what you can get right now. You might be thinking that that guy might be a completely different person right now. He might have moved on. He might be in a new relationship. So I'm not sure what the logistics are. But I think if at some point you feel like this pain is not letting you progress with the guy that you're with right now, whether you speak to the previous guy or not, maybe the first thing to say, if you don't think you can move forward with him, is to take a break or end things, and not drag him along, because you're feeling like something else is the better thing, the better option for you. That's the best I can do right now without having a conversation. But I mean, that's a great question. I'll do one more, and that's Jane, who's asking, how do you date when you grew up being told that nice girls don't talk to boys? I was never allowed to date, and my mom still tells me I disgusted her when I introduced my guy friend to her. Well, don't listen to your mom. That's my first advice. Second is, here's the thing. There's many things you learn as a girl, like Santa exists, and you don't buy that anymore, right? There's a few things that you learned growing up that you no longer believe to be true. Don't make the exception out of this one. Is I think that redefine what a nice girl. First of all, define what you want to be defined as in life is a nice girl. Is that what you want to be defined as, a nice girl? Or do you want to be defined as a courageous woman? Go from the nice girl to the courageous woman. Courageous women don't talk to boys, talk to men. So graduate from being a nice girl to being a courageous woman, a self-worthy woman, a woman who wants love and connection and awesomeness in her life, and create a new identity for yourself. The identity of a woman who talks to men and who is respectful and who basically has boundaries with men and who has a willingness to see the best in them, but also not stay in longer than she needs to if the guys don't show her the level of respect and awesomeness that she needs. So as long as you can tell yourself the truth, which is you've outgrown that identity and you're in a much better place in your life right now, if you choose it, then you can have conversations with men one at a time in a respectful way with boundaries, and then select from those the best match for you. It's going to take courage, and it's going to take putting in some earmuffs, like this thing here, like just get this thing, something like this, and wear it all the time when you talk to your mom about things like this. And I mean, if you're not getting the feedback you want from her, then in situations like this, wait longer to introduce guys to your mom. Don't have conversations about things that she doesn't really have any idea about. Because well-intentioned advice, kind advice that hurts you is just as bad as bad intentioned advice that hurts you, right? A little bit of poison that your best friend, dropped by accident on your orange juice might kill you, even though it's a best friend and well-intentioned. So don't think badly about your mom. Just set some boundaries and choose to listen to human beings who support you and want the best for you and think greatly of you and see you as a woman, not a girl. That's my last question for today. I want to thank you so much for being here. Again, one last time, if you haven't done this, go to mydatingcure.com. If you want to learn how you can attract your ideal guy with more grace and more elegance than maybe your current strategy. And if you want my help, then go to callwithburn.com and apply to see if we're a good fit to work together. Have an amazing rest of your day. Hope to see you in my next live. And thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up, and thank you for staying here. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.